Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks for coming by today. Today we're just going to do April reading wrap up because it's May now, so it's time to talk about April. So, disclaimer, this video may or may not be edited because I'm having some serious technical difficulties because I'm having issues with my old phone and getting things edited and being able to save it on my phone, having storage issues. I'm just having problems. I really need to upgrade this phone, but I just can't afford it right now. So you may or may not get an edited video, so you may or may not see like photos inserted, that kind of thing. You just gotta have to roll with me, okay? Because I am doing my best and I'm barely hanging on, okay? But I do want to talk about what I read for April because I had a pretty good month. And yeah, I just want to talk about it. So of course I spent most of my month reading for Old School April, and I had just a blast, honestly. Old School April, of course, created by Kelsey over at Slam and Slashers. So big thank you to Kelsey for creating such a fun event. And I enjoy participating every year. And thanks for the co-hosts, and thanks to Kelsey for letting me be a curveballer. Thanks to everybody who did my curveball and just had fun with it and leaned into the fun of it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was a fun time reading a bunch of books, watching a bunch of movies and TV shows, and just leaning into the nostalgia. I tell you, it was a great and welcome distraction for me. Yeah, okay. So quickly, yes, let's talk about my books I got into. I'm going to try to do a separate video for, my fun stuff. So I will include, what I watched there. So I'm just going to try to get this to books. Okay. So I kicked off the month with reading The Honeys by Ramen Sala. I had this grand idea that I was going to do this bee-themed reading vlog because I was on Team Candyman crew, the winners. And, bees are sort of a general theme and, visual of the Candyman movie. And I was like, I had all this list of bee books, whatever. I got to one, it's fine. So I could not get my life together for any kind of reading vlogs. I usually do vlogs for Old Scraper. I just can't do it. It's fine. But The Honeys by Ramen Sala was really good, actually. I was very impressed with this book. So this is a YA story, and our main character is a sibling and of this girl that dies in the beginning of the book, and the sibling that's left behind is they've been kind of distanced over the past several years, and so like their relationship isn't quite what it used to be, that sort of thing. They are this sort of gender fluid, gender non-conforming sort of person, and so they're dealing with this, but then they're also the death of their sister, so that leads them, the death really opens up questions, particularly as it pertains to this summer camp that sister always went to. And it's a summer camp that really for these sort of upper crust sort of people, wealthy folks, where they sent their kids for like every summer, they go every single summer and that kind of thing, And so they go back to the camp. They used to go there, but they stopped going for reasons. And so there's things and stuff going on, right? But particularly there's this one sort of group of this cabin of this one group of girls that are sort of in charge of the bees there at the camp. And so and that's the group that his sister was involved in. And so, yes, like I said, questions and secrets and things going on. Definitely lots of bee stuff in here. I really loved how all of this ended. Again, it's just into this sort of grand ending of what was going on at this camp, which is something I did not even remotely see coming. And I really enjoyed it. And super impressed with this book. And so I would highly recommend that if you, this sounds good because it was really good. Should I go in order? Yeah, let's just go in order so I don't forget anything. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady, Hendrix. Coral over at Pretty Paper Cuts ended up putting together a sort of group read, buddy read for this one, and a lot of us, I think, read this one this month, and I loved this. I absolutely loved this book. It was it was very emotional for me reading it, and I cried and sobbed several times throughout the book. Essentially, we're following a young teenage girl who, this takes place in the sort of early 1970s, where if you were, a teenage girl and you got pregnant, if your parents could afford it or whatever, to save face, you were sent off to these homes and where were lived there, and you had your baby, and more often than not, the baby was given up for adoption, and you could just go back to your house, and it was always some story of why you were missing for 9 months, right? So there's that going on. So our main character, is being taken to the house at the beginning of the book. And so, of course, we meet, all of the other girls that are there at the time, but particularly her roommates that we get to know better, of her little friend group that forms, and, other people that have at the house, like, of course, the sort of headmistress type lady. There's a doctor, a nurse, a cook, that kind of, some staff that, is around the area too. And as we learn sort of backstories about, our sort of main girls and how they got there and their stories and stuff. And then all of a sudden this woman shows up in a bookmobile and gives, the girls this book. I think it's called How to Be a Groovy Witch or something like that. I really love the title of that book. And so they start looking in there to try to, try to make better their current situation, right? Because it's a bit of an eye-opening experience for them, and one of the girls are definitely going through something really terrible, so they start seeing if these spells can help them out, and that kind of leads them down this road that they weren't quite expecting. For me, I connected so much with this story in general. There are, I think, 3 birthing scenes in here which were very powerful and realistic, and for me, it made me think of when I gave birth to my son, because this is both the most awful thing and the most beautiful thing. It's gross yet beautiful. It's this whole mix of emotions that you go through. And then, when our main character, when it's her time to give birth, and she goes to the hospital, and the people there treat her so terribly, and I was just literally sobbing for her, because she was treated so terribly, because she's just this teen pregnant girl, and I don't know, I just felt so sad for her. I really loved the witchy bits. I loved the characters. I loved the setting. I think Grady Hendrix is fantastic. I loved this story, and I think, I know he is, a dude writing female characters, but I always think he does a fantastic job writing female characters. I just feel like he probably grew up in a house full of women and just kind of gets it, and I don't think he's like trying too hard. I think he just kind of gets it and wants to tell these stories, and I don't know, I appreciate it. So yeah. One thing I think, that Grady Hendrix, I think that does him a disservice, is that he's often touted as this like horror comedian, when I never really laughed at any of his books, because I feel like his books often carry a very serious undertone. The books I read, I've not read them all, but like Southern Book Clubs and My Best Friend's Exorcism, and even the rock and roll one, I'm forgetting the name of it, but and this one in particular, they all have a heavy emotional load to them, and I don't know, I just feel like that sort of label can do him a disservice, because I feel like people go into his stories looking for something, and that's not always what they're about. Anyway, I love this book, and I know it gets mixed reviews, but I don't know, I highly recommend it. I thought it was fantastic, and I just connected to it on such a personal level, and I felt I felt so much for these girls and the society they were growing up in that time period, because I'm sure this is very real. So yeah, I loved it. So anyway, next up I read Winter's Bone by Daniel Woodrell, and this was a book club pick for Brad Proctor's Spinebreakers book club. He does like a little quarterly book club, and this is actually definitely one that's been on my radar for a little while, and he put it as a book club. The audiobook was available. I said, I'm going to dig into it. And this was really good too. Yeah, this was really good. This was set, I believe it was set in like the Ozarks areas. So like Arkansas-ish area, I believe. In the description, I will correct anything that of course I say wrong. But anyway, and we're following, again, sort of a young girl, and she is kind of the caretaker of her family. She had to quit high school, and to take care of her 2 younger brothers, and she takes care of her mom, who was just having a mental break, we'll say. She's not doing well. She's not really able to take care of the home or anything. The father is someone who just comes in and out, you know what I mean? He, like a lot of people in this area, are someone who live on the other side of the law, you know what I mean? Because these people are poor, and this story really much reflects that, this area of the country. And so the crux of the story is that the father needs to show up for a court date, and the sheriff or somebody shows up to the daughter, to the house, and I think they have a little trailer even, to the house, but says, if her dad doesn't show up, just FYI, I mean, he's put up the trailer, he put up the house basically for collateral for his bond or whatever. So if he doesn't show up, they're gonna come and take the house, which is like literally the only thing they have, you know what I mean, to their name. Like, they can't lose the house, they've got nowhere to go, And so this starts her on this sort of trek, of this sort of journey of trying to find the dad, so he'll show up to the court date. This leads her down some dark roads. This story got very dark. I really wasn't quite expecting where this story went, but she gets into some sticky situations, because like I said, a lot of these people live in this area. They're like cooking meth, they're dealing drugs. I mean, they got all kinds of stuff going on. There's this sort of honor code, hate the police kind of got situation. It's a lot in here, and then she is just really caught, and many other people in the area are caught in this sort of vicious cycle of poverty. The writing here was fantastic. I thought Danielle Woodrell did a great job with the setting, just a real good sense of place here. Characters were great. Yeah, I thought this was really good, so I would definitely recommend it. But it's bleak. Yeah, it's bleak. Okay, next up, I read Forever by Judy Blume. I love Judy Blume. I mean, I make no, I'm never quiet about my love for Judy Blume on this channel. And Forever is the story, it's more of a YA Judy Blume story. The story of course, Catherine and Michael. And it's sort of, teen love. I think they're both seniors in high school. And like I said, just teen love. And, Catherine and Michael go all the way. So there's like teen sex in here, which I imagine when this was written, I believe in 1975, yes, caused quite a kerfuffle. I can imagine. But Judy, to me, always just just knows how to write children, be they small children, teenagers. She just gets it. And even reading this now, how many years later, it just still resonates, and I think it is still a really important story. It is a bit of its time. It is written in the 70s, but it's still good. I mean, honestly, it's still effective, and I love Judy, so whatever, I then read Ellisons Baby by Mike Stone. This was a book that was sent to me by Kelsey, so I wanted to go ahead and read it. I've had it a couple of years and still hadn't read it. I read it now, and I just had a ton of fun with this one. I admired the cover. We got a skeleton doctor. How could you go wrong? And there's a lot going on in this story. Where does one start to describe this one? I don't know. We've got our lady named Allison, and there's this whole backstory of her, like of her parents dying, and then she's going to go live with her grandmother when she was like a younger kid. And then something happens, and then she's sent away from the grandmother. And then she's been gone, forever, for years. And until many, many years later, she gets this sort of note that her grandmother's passed away and has left her the old house that she, used to live in. And so she and her husband, they've been trying to conceive. They're going through some struggles there. But so they moved to the house for a little bit to try to fix it up so they can sell it, because it's in kind of disrepair. It's not looking good. But her being there triggers some things about why she was sent away, memory stuff going on. There's a whole other side story going on here that is wackadoo. And it's not good, you know what I mean? But I also had a good fun. So it's good in that regard. So I had a good time with it. And I don't know, it was fun. What more can you want? Sometimes you just want a fun, silly story, and I got that. I then read The Sundial by Shirley Jackson. This was our book club pick for the Death by TBR book club. Of course, I co-host with Kelly from Kelly Hooked on Books, and the Discord for that's always linked below if you want to join us. But this is a, sort of classic of classics, Shirley Jackson, The Sundial. Okay, this was hilarious. First of all, Sally, who's Sally? I don't know who the hell Sally is, but Shirley is hilarious. Okay, if you've ever read any of her nonfiction, you'll know, you'll see how funny she is. But yeah, this had a very sort of dark wit to it, I would say. Dark comedy, I would call this, we're following this family, the Halloran family, which are this sort of well-to-do family in this kind of small sort of town. And it starts out at a funeral. The son of the, sort of head of the household, the mother and father, has died. And this starts this sort of, I don't even know I don't know how to explain this, but one of the family members, Aunt Fanny, she gets this sort of vision that from her dead father that the world is going to end and she needs to put things in place and so that the family survives. This leads them down this sort of road of trying to get the house ready, getting things done so they'll be prepared. And meanwhile, they're just like talking nasty about each other. They really hate each other. And I don't know. What is so funny about it? One is the way they actually hate each other and talk about each other. And I just think, like, could you imagine being at the end of the world with these absolutely insufferable people? You're not supposed to like them. And she does that a very good job with making you not like them. They're all totally just insufferable. Like I said, just, oh my God. But I just had a fun time with this. There's a very ambiguous ending. So if you don't like an ambiguous ending, you probably won't like this ending. But I had an overall fun time with this. I just love how Shirley Jackson fills out a character, and even the house itself is a character, and the grounds, and this just crazy family that are just so wealthy they don't know what to do with themselves. You know what I mean? So definitely some issues of class here as well, because they don't include any of the other people, of the village or the town in their plans. To save themselves. They're going to just save themselves. And so I just had a fun time with this. So I would recommend it as a Shirley Jackson read. I then read this middle grade book called The Slime That Ate Crust View by Jonna N. Malcolm. And I had a super fun time with this one. And it's the early 90s, Apple paperback, So we're following this new kid here has come into Crust View, this new sort of, town, this little development. And she's moved into town and she connects up with these other two kids as something is happening in the neighborhood. Perhaps it is a slime, this purple gooey slime. So they are on the case to figure out what's going on. It was a fun time and it's a book about slime. I don't know. It was fun. So I had fun with that. And then I read Mrs. Koizumi Loves Ramen Noodles. This is volume 2 by Narumi. Yeah, and I had a really fun time with it. I read this one for Aaron's curveball to read a manga, and I love this manga. This is volume 2. This is a food manga. This is absolutely a food manga about this lady, this girl that loves to eat ramen. So you get wonderful imagery of ramen and her enjoying ramen. And, so our other character, Yu, is kind of infatuated with, this is Yu, she's kind of infatuated with Miss Koizumi because there's just something about her, right? And so she's like still trying to, in this volume, she's still trying to kind of befriend her and get through that kind of crust, outer crust of Mrs. Koizumi, because she's a bit standoffish, but not necessarily mean, but just, you know what I mean? She's just doing her own thing. But lots of food descriptions in here and imagery of food and ramen and yummy food and talking about food. And it's just a cozy little story that I'm so enjoying, and I can't wait to get to the next volume. So that was so fun. I ended up the month reading Bound by Blood by David S. Brink. And I want to thank first the author for reaching out to me to give me this copy. And I finally got around to it. Again, my reading's just been a little. I did finally get to this one. What made me? I don't often get approached to read by authors, so when I do, I like to at least consider it. And so I looked at the blurb, and the keywords of religious horror got me. I do enjoy a little bit of religious horror from time to time. And just one moment, please. Okay, I'm so happy for the pause feature. Okay, any hoozle. So I religious horror. Yes, it interested me. And then I read a little bit further, and the author, just to sort of describe this book as a Christian horror book. And at first, I was like, oh, I don't know. But I said, you know what? I'm kind of curious, actually. I'm someone who definitely likes to just kind of read, try different things and see what's going on. I said, let me give it a go. I'll read it. And I did overall enjoy the book, and the gist of the story, we've got these twin brothers, hence the sort of bound by blood thing. And as our story kicks off, we find them sort of wrapped up in this group called the Kinship, which is a group of people that are kind of beholden to this sort of dark force, let's just say. And they are needing a sort of, these twins have been marked as a special, and need to perform some sort of ceremony to, yada, 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 right? And they have this task that they're supposed to do to kind of help them along the way. So our brothers' names here are Seth and Jason. Our main character that we follow is Seth. And he really is not a believer of the kinship, but he's kind of in there to kind of keep an eye on Jason. So he's, just kind of being a bit protective. Things happen along the way, and whatever this sort of thing that they're needing to do, it doesn't happen. So Seth has this sort of, brush with death, and a sort of come to faith moment, I will say, which leads him down a different road, and he's starts falling in line with this church and gets married, and he's trying to he's living a life that he is enjoying, but he has this sort of secrets of his past that are kind of haunting him, and they kind of come up a bit later, right on. So because Jason is still being pushed by this sort of dark force to complete the ritual, because again it has to be the two of them as these twin brothers. So there's secrets and things that come about and stuff like that. So it is a sort of classic good versus evil type of story, that we see a lot in religious horror, which is kind of why I like religious horror, and even like sort of possession type stories, which, are kind of along the line of like a religious horror. You usually have a sort of religious aspect with a lot of possession type stories as well. Now, and you may say, Crystal, why are you reading a Christian horror book? I mean, I'm not a religious person, so let me just say that right now. You do you, but it is just not for me. But I will say I didn't necessarily find any of the sort of religious talk super distracting or anything like that. It wasn't overbearing or anything, but it is there. So, I mean, I just be upfront about that. If that's something that's a total turn off for you, it is there, because there is this sort of needing to believe, having faith, even, sort of this power of prayer, helping, this sort of, like I said, this classic good versus evil type of story, which is essentially what this is, right? And so testing faith, all that kind of stuff is in here. I mean, I grew up going to church, so I mean, I get it, so yeah, I say overall, definitely, it was a solidly written story. It kept me interested, and I was rooting for the guys. I was hoping that things would turn out well for everyone. I really felt for Jason, who was tied to the sort of dark forces team, let's say, because he was definitely looking for something, in his life. But sometimes we don't always look in the right places, right? So yeah, overall, it was very interesting. It was out of my sort of comfort zone for reading, but yeah, it was interesting. I like to try different things. So again, thanks to the author for letting me read that one. I would definitely recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. If you like, again, that sort of good versus evil, dark versus light type of story, and won't mind a little bit of religious talk. Like I said, to me, it wasn't too overbearing or preachy or anything like that. So like I said, it worked well for me. It worked okay. So yeah, I had a good time with it. I think that's it. So I had a pretty good month. I just I'm just trying to do my best here. Things have been rough here, and I just try to find distractions when I can, because I'm telling you, it's rough out here in these streets. But anyway, I did want to make a mention. I have a little book haul here of a lovely, lovely gift. sent to me by my friend Claude over at Claudes Vlogs. I'll link his channel below. And one of the things is, one of the things I'm finding hard right now is motivation to keep this channel going. I'm going to be honest. On top of these sort of technical issues I'm having, and then, you know, the country literally falling apart, and, you know, people coming after my son, and I'm not always in the best headspace, but I'm reminded of the people that I've connected with through this channel, both other channels and even, you know, people that they don't have a channel but maybe they comment, and people that I've really garnered true friendships with. And so Claude sending me this box kind of reminded me of that. So I'm going to do my best to at least do maybe one video a month or something like that. A couple of, I don't know. I can't guarantee what I'm going to be doing moving forward because I'm going to try to keep going. So, but he sent me this lovely little box of books, which I wasn't expecting at all. I think he was going to send me maybe like a couple of things, but a big box of books. Anyway, let me show you what he sent me. He sent me book 1 and 2 of Dean Koontz's Frankenstein story, which I haven't read. So I'm definitely, honestly, I'm a little bit interested because what's going on here? I don't know. I don't think I've actually read any Dean Koontz, which seems weird to me. But anyway, The Pack by David Fisher, classic paperbacks from hell, animal attack book, sounds fun. The Chindi, I believe this one's called, by Brad Steger. Look at this cover. Could be a little problematic. We've got some Native American looking thing down here. I don't know. We'll see about this one. But it also could be fun. You never know. This one seems quite old. This one is 1980, so not quite as old as I was thinking. Anyway, got this Grant Masterson book, The Pariah. Sounds great. Look at this Lois Duncan book called Down a Dark Hall. Classic. Look, a skeleton playing a flaming piano. You can't get any better than that. Let's see. I've got this Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Yes. Look, let's see if it's one of those that has the pictures from the movie in the middle. Yeah, great. I've got this light novel, The Dark Star That Shines for You Alone, Pretty Boy, a Detective Club #1. I am jazzed for this. That sounds fun. This one, I Cannot Reach You, Volume 1 by Mika. I know he's been trying to get into some graphic novels, and I think he's read these. So he passed some along my way. This looks like a cute little sweet romance. I love a romance manga. I really do. And this one, yes, What Did You Eat Yesterday, Volume 1 by Fumi Yoshinaga. It's another food manga. Also, I think a sweet romance. Right up my alley. So, thank you, Claude. And thank you. Yeah, just thank you. I'm really glad that we have connected here. Go check out Claude's channel. He is just a really lovely person. Has super fun videos about, you know, books and comics and movies and Disney and collecting, and yeah, he's super sweet. So I think that's it. I had a super fun month overall with reading. Old School April, like I said, was just so much fun. And Candyman Crew, we took it home. Yes. So so I'm going to wrap up here. This is long, so it's probably not going to be edited. So bear with me. I will write the names of all the books below that I read. Again, thank you to David Brink. I will link like maybe his website and things like that for his book, Bound by Blood, if you're interested in that. So yeah, thanks for watching and hanging in there with me. And I hope you're hanging in there as well. Things are tough right now. We're in this together. So thank you for your just being here. I never really say, but you know, like if you liked this video, subscribe if you want to, and we'll check in the next one. Okay. All right. Bye, friends.